Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the French 2000 and 1000 Guineas happening on Sunday night for Australians, obviously during the day on Sunday for Europeans. So there's four good races on the card, two of them being the Guineas. So the first one is the Prix de Saint George, 5 furlongs, Group 3, 1,000 meters. This is these sort of horses will be looking towards Royal Ascot with the King's Stand Stakes in mind, I'd assume. So we'll just go through some of these. You got Pontos, who he's still going. He's a bit of an old veteran. He was had his Dubai winter, which he does every year. But yeah, he'll go forward here, I'd imagine. And then you got the likes of Rogue Lightning, who's come back. I remember last year he spent a lot of his preparation in the US, in some of those like sprinting races where he did okay, I believe. And now he's back here. He could run well. He could surprise. And then you've got the likes of Rayevka, who ran in the Alquoz sprint and that race before it at Maiden, where it was really like a really bad track bias. But yeah, she's pretty good, but I feel like she hasn't really proven herself that much as of late. I remember she was in the Commonwealth Cup. I think she ran quite well. So she has a bit of form to find, I think. And also back to 5 furlongs is interesting. I thought she was more of a 6 furlong type of horse. But we'll continue down. You've got Beautiful Diamond, trained by Carl Burke. She was last seen running third at Bath in that listed race. And to be honest, I think this is a nice sort of logical next step for this horse. I think, she's just turned 5. She's, as a 4-year-old, she was a good sort of Group 3, 5 furlong sort of horse. So, that they're really, this is really her distance. And I think this is the time to sort of push towards that, topper echelon, or that upper echelon, not a topper echelon, upper echelon of the sprinting divisions in Europe. So she's actually my bet for this race, Beautiful Diamond. Although, to be fair, I should probably check how she goes on a wet track, because you never know with France. It can just rain overnight heavily. Yeah, she runs on pretty much any surface, so she'll be my bet for that race, I think. Interestingly, Magira, she's back. Oh my god, this horse just annoyed me so much last year. Because, I remember she won that race at Haydock, and I had an anti-post bet on her at Royal Ascot, and she got pulled out, because she wouldn't go in the gates, so that really annoyed me, because I've always thought she's a really talented horse. Now she's returning it to. That's a surprise to me, I thought, because obviously she's owned by Arthur Mitchell. I thought she would have, gone to Australia to be a broodmare, but obviously they're going to race her on. She's very good on her day, but she's got a few issues, as I said, a few temperamental ones, going into the gates, so probably can't have Magira. And then you got Afghan at the bottom, who's the lone 3-year-old in this race, and he's pretty good. He is pretty good. He only just got beat last start, was beaten the length the start before. He's pretty good, although as a 3-year-old, although he's carrying that weight allowance. I don't know. I think some of these sprinters are more seasoned and just better, more established horses. I think Afghan in time will be a really really handy sprinter. And they thought that of him last season. He ran in the Bay as a 2-year-old at Longchamp. So they think, they obviously think very glowingly of him, but I think Beautiful Diamond wins this race. Probably spent too much time on this race, but we'll continue. This is a much smaller race, the Prix Saint Allery. These are, fillies heading towards the French Oaks, the Prix de Diane. So we'll just, I don't have a great deal to say. I don't think Composing will come here, although to be fair, Ryan Moore's going to be here, and they'll already have a string of horses for the Guineas, so maybe they might bring one extra for this race. And it's a Group 2 over 2,000 meters, so it makes a fair bit of sense. So Gilded Prize will probably be the favourite. She looked unreal. I think it was the Prix Cleopatra or something like that. That was a Group 3 last start over 2,000 meters, and she looks very good. The way she covers the ground just looks a bit different to some of these horses, so I think she's going to be very exciting going forward. In saying that, Concord Agreement won a pretty hot race last start, and she could win as well. But I just think Gilded Prize, with those Juddmonte connections, she would just be too good here. It's weird how some of these French like Group 2s and Group 3s have like no runners in them. Like I think it was a Group 2. No, it was a Group 3 the other day. Over a mile and a quarter, and had like 4 runners. Like I'm surprised. I'm surprised more British trainers aren't sending horses to those races, because they seem like much easier contests than say the Huxley or, those sorts of like Group 2, Group 3 middle distance races. Kind of mind blowing, to be honest. All right, we'll move on to the proper stuff. All right, the French 2000 Guineas, Group 1, over a mile. So, if you don't know about Longchamp, if you're drawn like maybe like 8 or higher, or like if you're drawn wide on this mile course, you are fucked. Like, you're actually fucked. So there's a few horses here that you just have to put the pen through. Most notably Nighttime, who's just such a good horse. Like, he's so talented. He will win a Group 1 eventually, but he's drawn barrier 13 here. He was my pick for the race, but I can't have him now. Now that he's drawn, literally like in an impossible stall. So we'll just have a talk about some of these. Raif, who's the only Aga Khan horse in this race, obviously trained by Francis-Henri Graffard, ridden by Michael Barcelona. He was last seen running third on in that Group 1 at Longchamp on Arc Day, behind Puerto Rico, and he's pretty good. Finished off very well. Although this is his first up here, I'm looking at horses that have had a prep run coming into this. Obviously, last year we saw Henri Matisse win. I'm pretty sure he won, didn't he? Fuck, I swear it was either him or Camilo Pissarro. I swear. Oh fuck, this is gonna be bad. I need to look it up. No, Henri Matisse did win. I saw a replay like yesterday of this. Fuck, I need to. I'm too much of a casual horse racing fan. But yeah, I'm looking for horses that have had a run. Obviously, Hankalo, I think, was meant to run like in the Craven or something, but didn't run, or one of those races. And his best win was in a Group 3. I think it was the Autumn Stakes. So I think he's got a bit to find here. Seagull's drawn atrociously. Same with this horse, Comorbi. Obviously, William Buick flies over to partner this horse for Godolphin. Although I think barrier 9 is just a bit wide. And then Puerto Rico, the obvious sort of horse. He won that race at Doncaster. I think it was like the Champagne Stakes or something. And then won at Longchamp in that Group 1, the Lagardère, I think it is. So he's probably the horse to be on. Obviously, from that power stable. Although I don't know. Like, I feel like it's a bit troublesome backing a Ballydoyle horse first up in a classic. Like last year we saw Henri Matisse have a run. Even in the Derby, Lambourne had a run. And in the French Derby, Camilo Pissarro had a run. So I don't know. It seems like could be a bit of a problem. And then we go further down. You see Dorset, who's that big, beautiful grey horse from last season. He's having a run here. He'll probably make the running with Christophe Soumillon to try and set up the number 1 seed, Puerto Rico. And then the horse that I like in this race, who is a second stringer himself, Elastic. Obviously, Stéphane Pasquier takes the ride over Maxime Guyon. Which is understandable. I think Nighttime is a better horse, but Elastic's drawn a lot better here. And, he's not that bad. He's all right. And I think if you're drawn, well here, and the good horses are drawn wide, then it's just going to make life really miserable for them. So, Elastic is going to be my bet here. Yeah, I think French jockeys are overhated at the best of times. So I think Stéphane Pasquier is one of the good ones, and he started off on Coland again. I remember that. So I think Elastic is going to be. I think it's like $21 too. I think Elastic's a good chance here for the French 2000 Guineas. All right, we'll move on to the final one, the 1000 Guineas for the fillies, for the girls, over a mile, Group 1. We'll start off with Narissa. Now, I made a video a few months ago talking about some of the underrated 3-year-olds in Europe who, you should keep an eye out for. And Narissa was one of them. I thought the way she finished off in that race at Longchamp, her last race as a 2-year-old, was just electric, I thought. So, yeah, she's always been on the radar for me as a really promising horse. However, drawn barrier 9 here. Although to be fair, if she goes back, which I think she will, that will probably suit her barrier 9. But I'm trying to mitigate risk a little bit here. So I'm only looking at the low draws. Half Sovereign did look really very, very like tough sort of horse last season. Although just didn't really fire in her last start. So probably going to look away from Half Sovereign. Isle of Fernandez I don't think will be good enough, and just barrier 8's just a bit on that side of shit for my enjoyment. So we'll continue down. Now the horse I'm liking this race, and this comes from a very unfashionable yard, unfashionable jockey, but the jockey's ridden it in most of its starts, or maybe every start. Showna. Now she won at big odds last time in that, I think it was a Group 3 somewhere in France at Deauville. And she beat My Highness, who admittedly she self-destructed a bit at Newmarket. My Highness just never looked comfortable in the pre-race and didn't race very well either. But I think in a pretty open year, Diamond Necklace is looking amazing, but as I said, first up with no prep run, I think Showna's she looks like quite a progressive sort of horse. She's obviously come on a lot since she was a 2-year-old, and the only query I have with her is the ground. She needs it to be good or soft. And at the current rate, she's probably not a bet, but if it dries up a bit and we do get good or soft ground, I think she's the one to be on. Showna. Trained by, I think he's a Japanese trainer as well. If he's not, that's pretty racist, but we'll continue. Maintain I had to look at, but I think her form isn't quite strong enough for this. But obviously with the Juddmonte connections, she'll probably outrun her form, outrun her price, that sort of thing. What Holly Dawes riding? Wait, what? Who's Christoph Soumillon riding? What the fuck? That's so weird. Holly Dawes riding for Coolmore and Aidan O'Brien. That's so bizarre. Yeah, that's interesting. I thought Christoph's riding this horse. He must have had prior agreement to ride this thing. That's quite telling, Maybe this horse is an absolute jet. The Last Dance. It comes here off. I think it might have been a conditions race or something. Far out. That's interesting. I'm a bit shook. But yeah, Diamond Necklace. She's the class filly of the field. Gets the plum draw as well. She might just go and win, but I've got my own problems with first up Balliol horses in a classic, especially. Although to be fair, at Chester, I think all of them were having their first run and they all won. So yeah, I don't know. Although to be fair, some of them were older horses like Lambourne and Yanbrook or whatever. All right, we'll continue. Xanthos, drawn barrier 11, very talented. Really, really love that. Simon Ed Christopher and O'Shane Murphy. That just seems like great partnership, great pairing. But she's drawn too bad here to get involved, and the same with Green Spirit. Wow, they've been absolutely shafted, Christopher Ed, with their horses. Green Spirit in nighttime, drawing the absolute fucking shit. So, yeah, really, these are some really, compelling races this weekend. It might just be a Ballydoyle, win everything type weekend, but I think the horses I've picked out are pretty good. I think Showna, if she gets her track, she's in with a really good chance. And same with, who was the other horse I was on? Elastic, the second stringer for that ownership group. So it's a pretty good a weekend of racing in France. And even tonight, you've got Lingfield and, we had Chester this week despite issues with the track. So it's been a good week of European racing and seeing some of these, potential stars re-emerge, Jan Bruegel, those sorts of horses. And what about Constitution River the other day? He looked fucking unreal. So, yeah, good racing this week. And if you like this sort of content, just like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. It's just my name. So, yeah. See you later.